It's Kentucky Derby season, and every prep race counts. Next stop, the Tampa Bay Derby. This race awards 50 crucial Kentucky Derby points to the winner. 7 horses are lining up in the starting gate, ready to contend and battle it out over the 1.16 distance. And by the end of this video, you're going to have everything you need to know to find your winner. Facts and figures, they're going to give you the winning edge. I give you the stats, you make the picks. Hi, it's Maura from Trifecta and a little bit extra, and we're going to go through all 7 runners. Don't have time? That's okay. I'm now on YouTube Music as a podcast. Take me anywhere you want to go. Also, there are timestamps below. If you just want to hear about 1 or 2 horses, slide to the horse you're most interested in. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and never miss out on any of my Kentucky Derby coverage. Now, let's get started with the number 1 horse, Owen Almighty. If you want a horse with experience, speed, and a fighting spirit, look no further than Owen Almighty, the number 1 horse. Trained by Brian Lynch and ridden by Irad Ortiz Jr., 5 starts, 2 wins, 2 places. In the G3 Iroquois at Churchill Downs in September, he came in second behind well-regarded Jonathan's Way. Then he comes here to Tampa for a 7-furlong stakes race, the Pasco Stakes, where he went right to the lead. He fought every step of the way with the number 6 horse in this race, Naughty Rascal, and was placed first until he was disqualified for a bumping incident and brought down to 5th place. In his most recent race, the Sam F. Davis, this track and this distance, he and John Hancock, they went head-to-head throughout the whole race. They both broke well. They set a blazing hot pace, and Owen Almighty was not giving up. He showed tenacity and grit and fought every step of the way and only lost by a half a length. He's got speed, he's got experience, proven over this track, stamina, proven stamina, and he's got a really good workout going into this race. Plus, Brian Lynch and Irad Ortiz, they won this race in 2022 at Classic Causeway, so they know what it takes to get it done. Is Owen Almighty going to be all-powerful on Saturday? Will he get the jump and go right to the lead? He is one of the top contenders. Next up, we have a horse that's making his highly anticipated 3-year-old debut, and he comes with a serious reputation. Meet the number 2 horse, Chancer McPatrick. He's a $725,000 purchase by Mackenzie, trained by Chad Brown, and he'll be ridden by Flavien Prat, and together they have a 28% win rate. This horse has shown that he can run at the highest levels, winning 3 of his 4 starts as a juvenile. He starts his career at Saratoga in a maiden race, which he wins. Then he jumps into graded stakes company. He goes to the G1 Hopeful going 7 furlongs. He hit the gate. His jockey loses his left iron. He's way in the back, but somehow has a monster rally and beats Ferocious by a half a length. Then he goes to the G1 Champagne at Aqueduct, bobbles at the start, goes wide, and still manages to win at the mile distance. Unfortunately, he finishes his 2-year-old career on a low note. He goes to the Breeders Cup Juvenile race, and there he finishes 6th, 6 lengths behind everyone else going a 1.16 distance. After that race, he did have a small flake removed from his front ankle, and he dealt with a quarter crack on his hind foot. But he's been training since January 26th at Payson, and Brown has said he has made up a lot of ground quickly. Now, we know this horse is the class of the race. He's going to be carrying an extra 4 pounds versus all the other contenders, and he's getting blinkers for the first time. This is a seriously talented horse, and we know if he finds trouble, he's going to find his way out of it and make his way to the winner's circle. But we have to ask ourselves 2 questions. 1, what happened during the Breeders' Cup Juvenile race? Was it the distance? Now, he's by Mackenzie, so you wouldn't think so. Mackenzie won at the 1.125 distance in the Whitney. The other question we have to ask ourselves, is he ready? Brown does do well after the long layoffs, but then again, he just started back on January 26th. Either way, I would say this horse has to be a top contender in this race. Well, if you're going to talk about one Chad Brown horse, you better talk about the other. How many times has Chad Brown brought multiple horses to a race and he wins with the horse that you least expect? The number 3 horse, Hill Road, he has surprised all of us in the past. This is the first time he's going to be racing under Chad Brown. He'll be ridden by Tyler Gaffalione, and together him and Brown have a 19% win rate. Now, this horse began his career overseas in Ireland, where he began on turf. He wins his first race, dominates that race going a mile, and he wins by 5. Then he goes to a 7-furlong race on a good track, and unfortunately, didn't really do so well. Comes in 7th. Now advance to the Breeders Cup Juvenile at Del Mar. He was 61-1, and he shocks all of us by coming in 3rd behind Citizen Bull and Gaming. He was 10th for most of that race, very unharried. But then, all of a sudden, he exploded and flew past all the other runners to secure a spot on the board. Now, since then, Brown has said he needed a little time for bone remodeling, and that delayed his progression back to the Kentucky Derby trail. He's had 5 breezes since then, and Brown is also recorded as saying he's showing a lot of improvement, and that's something you really want to look for in these 3-year-olds is improvement. And he's getting blinkers for the first time on Saturday. So, will Hill Road show us that closing kick and get back to the winner's circle? Oh, and don't forget, Brown and Gaffalione, they won this race last year with domestic product. Hill Road and that closing kick, going to be a true contender on Saturday. Next up, we have the number 4 horse, Brodeur, trained by Mark Casse. He'll be ridden by Jose Ortiz, and together they have a 21% win rate. 3 starts and 2 wins, but here's the kicker. Both wins came at Oaklawn on a wet or muddy track. In December, in a $110,000 main race going 6 furlongs at Oakland Park on a muddy track, he surprised bettors that day. He was 12-1 odds, and he got the win. He broke from the outside gate and quickly got to the rail. He set very fast fractions, and he battled for that win. He dug in and won by a head. Then he goes to a $130,000 allowance race at Oaklawn, again on a wet track. And in that race, he battled for the lead with Handsome Pants. He shook away from Handsome Pants and had to hold a very fast-charging Curvino. But he got the win. So the question's not going to be, can he get the distance? He could get the distance. The question's going to be, is his success track dependent? Both of his wins came on and off track. Now he's by Nyquist, and Nyquist is known for having good stats producing dirt routers, both on a wet track and a dry track. But his speed ratings are a click below the other horses. He loves the lead, and he loves to battle for the lead, and he will have to battle again because he'll have Owen Almighty and Patch Adams on the lead with him. Can he hang on for a piece? Absolutely. But for me, I prefer some of the other horses. Now, for a price, he may be worth it to use to fill out your verticals in trifectas and superfectas. Now let's talk about the number 5 horse, Filoso, trained by Chad Summers and ridden by Dylan Davis. He's one of the closers in this race. 4 starts, 1 win and 1 show. His lone win came in a $100,000 main race at Saratoga going a mile. He hugged the rail that day. He made a bold move and finishes 3 lengths ahead of everybody else, winning the race. Then he steps up to Grade 1 Company, the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, and there he showed his really strong closing kick, coming in 3rd behind East Avenue and Ferocious. The problem with that race? The form has not held up. East Avenue went on to finish 9th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and 10th in the Risen Star, and Ferocious 5th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, 4th in the Holy Bull. His next stop is the Kentucky Jockey Club, and there he just had no chance. The pace of that race was slow, he had nothing to close into, and he finishes 6th, 9 lengths behind. Now, he's going to have to contend with some of the other closers in this race, the 2 Chad Brown horses, and in closing speed, I really do prefer them. But at really good odds, he may be one to use, again, to fill out your verticals in terms of trifectas and superfectas, and I really prefer him to the 4 horse. The number 6 horse is Naughty Rascal, and you just gotta love that name. Trained by Gerald Bennett and ridden by Sammy Camacho, this horse knows Tampa. He just hasn't figured out how to win here yet, unless you count the win through disqualification. Now, he has 7 starts, 4 wins, on the board 6 times, so very consistent. His early success came at Gulfstream in dirt sprints. Then he went on to a $95,000 stakes race, mile, on the turf, and wins. Then comes to Tampa and meets up with Owen Almighty. In the $150,000 Pasco Stakes going 7 furlongs, he sat right off of Owen Almighty. He battled Owen Almighty going around the track, really tried to dig in, and only lost by a length. Until Owen Almighty was disqualified and Naughty Rascal was put up as the winner. In that race, he earned his best speed figure. The problem? It's a click below the other runners in this race. Then he goes to the Sam F. Davis. This race and this track, it was a blazing hot pace, and he runs into Owen Almighty again. He was third for a big portion of that race, and he tried to make his move, but he then fades and finishes a disappointing 6th, 13 lengths behind. So he's got the experience on the track. He's got the experience with the distance. His speed is really not up to par. Is he a talented runner? Absolutely. I just prefer others in the field. And last but not least, let's talk about one of my favorites in this race, the number 7 horse, Patch Adams. He's trained by Brad Cox and will be ridden by Florent Giroux, and together they have a 28% win rate. Now let's start off by looking at his pedigree. He's by Into Mischief out of a Distorted Humor mare, and that cross is giving us other Kentucky Derby points contenders in Citizen Bull and Tappan Street, a proven cross. This horse has 3 starts, 1 win and 1 show, and when he won big. In a $120,000 7 furlong maiden race at Churchill Downs, he romped the field. He won by 10 lengths. That was dominant. The unfortunate thing was, if you look at the horses that he beat, they didn't really improve next time out, and neither did Patch Adams. He went to the G3 Southwest Stakes as the 4-5 favorite, and in that race, he had a trouble trip. He bobbled at the start. He was third to last for a big portion of that race, and when he finally was making his move, he brushed up against Sandman. He tried to hold on to third, but he flattened and finished 4th. Let me tell you why I'm going to sing Patch Adams' praises just like I did in the G3 Southwest Stakes. Now, I get it. He didn't win that race, but his speed rating from that race is one of the best at this distance out of the contenders in this field. He ties Hill Road for the best speed rating. He also has a top-notch pedigree, which we already discussed, and top-notch connections. Brad Cox knows how to get a horse ready to fire. So will Patch Adams deliver that punchline on Saturday in the Tampa Bay Derby? Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below. Tell me, who do you like to win this race? Hit subscribe, hit like, never miss out on my Kentucky Derby coverage. I hope you all find your winner on Saturday, and may your tickets be live at the wire. But most of all, sashay away with your money. Until next time, cheers.